Malcolm Gladwell and Bob Ramsey.
You first rose to fame in 2000 with The Tipping Point, about how trends spread. And then came Blink, about making snap judgments, and then Outliers, about what makes people less successful. And now we have David and Goliath, about why giants fall. So Why Giants Fall is kind of the media shorthand for the book. I'm sure the book is more complicated than that, though. So why don't you tell us what it's about, and tell us what the media seems to be missing so far when they write about you in the book.
You read a book that's this long, and then someone writes about it in an article that's that long, so they can't really fit in everything. But it's about the weapons of the spirit. Things like determination, motivation, anger, faith are far more powerful factors in determining the outcome of a contest than prestige, resources, money, soldiers, what have you. And that sounds like a very kind of airy-fairy thing, but time and time again, when we look at conflicts between people who seem on paper to be completely mismatched, it's those with the strongest weapons of the spirit who win. That's the story of Vietnam, of Northern Ireland, of 1,000 startups. It's the story of, like we could go on and on and on, that those kinds of intangible things, which seem to be particularly and uniquely tied in with subordinate status, those things turn out to be really, really powerful. And that's what I'm trying to communicate with the book, is to deepen our respect for those kinds of weapons of the spirit.
On that point, you say that upsets happen more than we think, happen more often than we think. And you tell some very beguiling stories to prove that. Yet at the same time, you're very careful to say that underdog strategies are hard. They take incredibly hard work, which may be the reason why there aren't more upsets than we have now.
So if we went through and looked at the 50 most successful startups in Toronto, and you measured the number of, for example, hours that people at those companies worked, and compared that to the average weekly hours clocked by people at established Goliaths, no surprise to any of you, people at startups will probably work, 25% more hours. It's just not the case that someone working at CIBC stays up all night finishing a project. That's an example of weapon of the spirit. Your determination and your motivation to succeed in your job may be greater as a consequence of being part of a less advantaged organization.
One of the stories you tell is about T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, and how he took this group of Bedouin horsemen and managed to beat both the British and the Turks. And I'm going to get the quote here. You said that T.E. Lawrence, quote, "He was an archaeologist by trade who wrote dreamy prose." So my sense is that you are an archaeologist by trade who also writes dreamy prose. And what you do is you get an idea of where something is or what something is, and you'll start to dig, and you're not quite sure what you're looking for, but you may find it, and you've had the good luck and the great skill to find it 4 times now in a big way. So my question is, what are you out there now looking for that may become your next book, your next archaeological dig?
Well, I have no idea, is the short answer. The long answer is, what you do is you accumulate small, weird things. So I'll give you an example of, in the last 3 weeks, 2 small, weird things have happened that have stuck in my head. So I'm really interested in the idea of degree of difficulty. As an outsider, I can watch a film with someone who knows a lot about films, and we can both agree that the film is good. We are both equal judges of the film's quality. What I don't know, that they know, is the degree of difficulty. So they can say, actually, that scene that you like so much, that's insane. I mean, you have no idea how hard it was to shoot that scene. That's a single camera, something. It's all like that in any kind of field, that the thing you don't know as an outsider is the degree of difficulty, right? So as a journalist, for example, I have huge respect for Michael Lewis, because if you're a journalist, you understand that it's not just that his books are good, it's just that they are insanely hard. Do you know how hard it is to write? The Big Short is a bestseller about derivatives. Do you have any idea how hard that is? It's insane. I would, in a million years, would never write that book. I had no idea how he pulls it off. So this is not a book idea, but I've always wanted to write about this. So I was going on this thing, and some guy, some software developer comes up to me. He worked for Apple, and he said, you know what the great example of this is? He said, it's the sleep function on OS 9, I think. You know, now when you close your laptop, it goes to sleep, right? He's like, do you have any idea how hard that is? It's like, that was one of the most epic achievements in the, you know, well, he was being, I'm sure, a little bit, but it's like, as a feat of software, it's like so mind-blowing. It took forever. It took geniuses forever to figure out how to make Unix to go to sleep. And he's like, and the sad thing is, he said, no one has ever recognized what an achievement this is. And then it was clearly him who had figured out sleep. And he was saying that no one, and my heart's with him, because you know, that's totally fascinating. Who knew that the sleep function was this extraordinary achievement? So you never know. You look at you could do it with your business. There are 15 different things that are obvious to the public about what you do. What they don't know is they can't rank them in order of difficulty, right? They don't know that this particular thing was insane and we managed to pull it off. Right? And sort of one of the functions of writing is to go into worlds and to give us insight on that particular thing, to rank things in order of their difficulty, right? The color commentator on a diving competition, their job is to tell you, why is that particular triple gainer harder than the whatever? The other thing I heard recently was someone who worked for Procter & Gamble explaining how the thing that drove them most crazy in the world was one of their competitors, Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste, because Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste doesn't work, and they can't convince anyone in the public that it doesn't work. So it's one thing to be up against like Crest, and Crest is a worthy competitor. They have fluoride, they've done their homework, cleans your teeth, and it's mono, and they respect Crest. But Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste, it does not work. And they have the studies to prove it, and it just like drives them crazy that Arm & Hammer's got like 7% market share, and they can't drive them out of business. And there's something really lovely about that, because you sort of want to go and hang around at Procter and just get that whole story, and how clearly this guy won't rest until he's crushed by Arm & Hammer, which is just fantastic.
You are from southwestern Ontario. Alice Munro is from southwestern Ontario. Yes. You both...
Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Alice...
Exactly.
There's a triangle. She's from like Goderich or something.
Right.
Bieber's from Stratford. I'm from Elmira.
Right.
And you have... Right. Tells you everything you need to know about southwestern Ontario, right there.
And we would call that the Bermuda Triangle. And so you both started out life as sort of self-confessed Davids, and you both become huge Goliaths. Maybe not Goliaths, Titans.
I haven't won the Nobel. Let's put that.
Right.
There.
So
she's bigger than me.
What are they putting in the water a few miles west of here that breeds this kind of culture? Seriously.
It's just about, listen, everyone knows what southwestern Ontario is like. It's like God's country. It's fantastic. Right. It's like, I had a childhood so free of anxiety that when I first met people who had childhoods full of anxiety, I didn't even know what to make of them. I was like, you had homework? Really? In school you had homework? That's fantastic. How did that work? Like I just had, everything was just kind of so, maybe that's part of it, or maybe it means nothing at all. I have no idea. The Bieber thing is confusing too.
I read last week that that we now produce in our texts and our emails and our blogs and all that stuff, 3.6 trillion words a day, which translates into 36 million books a day. That's more books than are in the Library of Congress. What, for you, is the future of books, do you think, in this sort of crazy environment? And what will your next book tour look like? Because 4 years ago, there was no Kobo. Right? Yeah. There was no place here where we would be doing this. So cast your eyes.
Well, several things. I mean, I think the obvious model the first place to look is the music industry, and the evolution there has been that the public is willing to values the live performance disproportionately more than the recorded music. So the premium placed on live events will grow. So it breaks my heart to say this, the book tour will get longer, not shorter. So that's part of it. Two, I think the lines between all the different forms in which you interact with the author will blur. You know, you can imagine where you just have a subscription to a writer and you can get the stuff they do in any form you want. That's, I think we're probably headed in some direction, some form in that direction. Certainly the idea that someone would move seamlessly between your audiobook, a digital version of your book, and the physical book seems to me something that's very, because each have their own particular sweet spot, right? Neither is better or worse than the other. They're all different ways of, and I think, you know, if we're going to compete effectively, writers of books, with other forms of media, we have to be able to speak to people in as many different ways as possible. But I also think that one of the extraordinary opportunities with the digital format, which has not been exploited yet, is for much shorter things and much more frequent things. So imagine if, and I've thought about this, what if my next book was released as 10 mini books in a digital form as opposed to one big book at the end? I would love to try that, just to see, how does that experience for readers compare to getting it all in one go? Because already I'm sort of doing that. I mean, you can read the chapters of my books one at a time, and then you can set it aside and come back to read the next one. They're linked thematically, but it's not of necessity to read the whole thing in one go. And once you've already done that with the organization of your book, then why is it of necessity to release it all in one go? I don't know. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with people like you about doing shorter bits and and measuring the response and seeing whether it's a reasonable way to reach an audience.
In the 1800s, Charles Dickens did this. All of his novels were, released every week, serially. And his comment, when asked why he did this, he said, "Make them laugh, make them cry, but most of all, make them wait." And I think that could be true of you. Anyway, thank you, Malcolm Gladwell. Thank you.